The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
Welcome once again to another episode of Ouch, You're on My Hair. This is episode number 6. In this particular episode, we're going to break away from how we normally talk about hair metal albums. And we're actually going to do one that is a speed or thrash metal band. Yeah, we're talking about the mighty Metallica and their third album that came out, Master of Puppets. Okay, so this particular album was released on March 3rd, 1986, which was 2 days before my birthday. I would have been a junior in high school when it came out, and oh, do I remember when it came out. Because a buddy of mine, Scott Miller, got this album right away. He was a huge Metallica fan. I was a Megadeth fan, all right? So, I mean, I liked Metallica, but I preferred Megadeth more than Metallica. But anyways, I remember when Scott got this, we immediately were cranking this, and we were totally impressed. As if you have not heard the album and you go listen to it, I'm telling you, you will be impressed as well. And if you haven't listened to it for a while, go back and check it out, man. It's a rockin' album by Metallica. Is it their best? That's to be debatable. I mean, because each to his own, right? It's not my personal favorite Metallica album, but it may be yours. But anyways, I chose this one to talk about. I wanted to re-listen to it. I had to listen to it for a while. So let's get into it. This album had the primary nucleus of the original band, with the exception of guitar player who would go on and form Megadeth. And we'll talk about Dave Mustaine a little bit later. But anyways, this album had James Hetfield, who was the vocalist and basically rhythm guitar player. Kirk Hammett, who played drums. And then you had on lead guitar, you had Lars Ulrich. And rounding it out on bass, you had Cliff Burton, who unfortunately would pass away after the making of this album. And we'll talk about that a little bit further as we go along. But let's go into it. Let's do it like we always do it. We're going to go song by song. I'll try to tell you what I think the song means from what I've kind of researched, what I've kind of figured out by looking at the lyrics. And a couple just little added notes here and there as we look at Masters of Puppets on Out You're on My Hair. So for the first song of the album, it's Battery. Now, Battery is a reference to a street in San Francisco where the band used to hang out and play. There was a bunch of clubs that was on this street, and they were just paying homage to it. James Hetfield had said in an article one time, there's a good side and a bad side to a battery, and Metallica always fell on the negative side, is what he said. So, and there's some truth to that when you look at Hetfield's substance abuse problems and other issues that the band had throughout the years. Yeah, they kind of fell on the negative side for a while. Next up, Master of Puppets, the title track. Now, it's very obvious what this song is about, and it's about drugs. Now, back when I used to listen to it when I was in high school, I don't know if I knew it was really talking about drugs or not, because I was just singing the lyrics and not really paying attention too much to what they meant or what they said. I just knew it was a rocking song. I know it's still a song that's played live and has continued to be played live since '86. I know it has won numerous accolades as far as, like, you know, when they do their little polls and stuff of top 50, top 20, top 10 heavy metal songs. This one always comes in, you know, pretty high. Me personally, I don't know if I would put it in my top 10 of heavy metal songs of all time, but it definitely would make probably my top 20. There's a lyric in there that says, let me get it, I wrote it down to make sure I get it right. I don't want to misquote it, but taste me, you will see, more is all you need. You're dedicated to how I'm killing you. So it's obvious now that I listen to it as an older guy, a little bit more of a clearer head than my high school days. I know exactly what they're talking about. Talking about a puppet master, which is the drug, and making you do what they wanted you to do. But awesome song. Next up, The Thing That Should Not Be. Now, this particular song, they obviously Lars Ulrich must have been reading some stories. Him and Hetfield must have been reading some H.P. Lovecraft stories, because that's what this one is basically based off, one of his short stories. And in particular, I believe it's from the Shadow of the Innsmouth, which is about a scary monster, and that's what this song basically talks about, some type of monster. And the funny thing is, when I went back and I listened to this song again, because I re-listened to the album about a week ago before I recorded this, something struck me when I listened to this song. I said, man, that riff at the beginning sounds so familiar to something else, and then it hit me. And if you remember, Anthrax had a song called Among the Living, and when I listened to it, it's kind of, there's some similarity between the two songs. And it's very interesting to me because the Anthrax song came out shortly, that album, Among the Living, came out shortly after Master of Puppets. So I kind of wonder if maybe why the guys in Anthrax were in the studio, they were cranking this album or something, and maybe some of it got in their head and they didn't realize it. I mean, it's not note for note or anything like that, but go listen to them back to back and you'll see what I mean. There's some real similarity. Maybe it's just they're in the same key. I don't know. It might just be me. Next up, Welcome Home Sanitarium, my personal favorite song on this album. I still love this. They still play it live, and it's a rockin' song. It's a power ballad, all right? So I can't say it's a rockin' song, but it's a power ballad, and it's based off of the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is the Jack Nicholson film, and then, of course, there was a book before that. Now, I've never read the book. A friend of mine has read it and said that the book is obviously better than the movie, as most books normally are. If you look at the movie itself and you look at the lyrics, there's a lot of similarities. So it's obvious that they wrote this song based off that movie or the book. I don't know if they read it or they just watched the film. Still something played live and still really, really cool. The original version of this song actually had no chorus, and then it went straight into Orion, which we'll get into Orion later. Next up song is Disposable Heroes. Now this one is a song that's about how countries will go to war and they really don't give a darn about the soldiers and the lives that they're taking. It's all about just winning. And being a retired Army guy of 20 years, it's something that, kind of crosses your mind sometimes. I mean, I've been to war, and I'll be the first one to tell you, sometimes you kind of wonder why you're there. But, you're supporting your country and you're doing your job. But this song is basically looking at the side of it is of, hey, soldiers are disposable heroes, and which is not true, but that's obviously how the band felt when they wrote this. Next up, Leper Messiah. Now, this is a song that's about religion, primarily about televangelists, and how a lot of televangelists have a tendency to use God's name to draw in money, and they're living like, kings and queens based off of that. Now, my own personal faith, I will tell you that, yes, there are some that do that. I don't think all of them are that way, but there are a lot of them that are. And that's, to each his own. You may totally disagree with me, and that's fine. I just know that this song in particular, that they're talking about certain ones that obviously have gone out there and used God's name or religion to gain a profit. Also, at the same time this song was written, James Hetfield had just lost his mother to cancer, and she was a Christian Scientist. And one of the things that the Christian Scientist religion believes is that you don't go to doctors and you don't take medicine to be healed. That you wait on God to heal you. And so I think James Hetfield had a lot of disdain and a lot of anger inside of him for the fact that his mother had cancer and didn't go seek help, and if she would have, maybe she would have lived longer. So that's part of why this song is written, I believe. Also, this was a song, remember we talked earlier about Dave Mustaine, who was the original guitar player in Metallica. He claimed for a long time that he wrote the riff to this song, and so there was a lot of issues back and forth. There was never proof that he actually originally wrote it, that he couldn't produce any type of recordings or anything where he had taped himself back in the day, but he always said for a long time that he wrote the riff to this song. Next up is an instrumental, Orion, which we briefly mentioned before. Orion actually, it got its name after a star constellation, and it's a really cool instrumental because there's basically three parts to this song. And this really shows Cliff on the bass. I mean, it just really highlights how good of a bass player he was. And there's a part near the beginning of the song. For years, I always thought it was a guitar, but it's actually Cliff on bass using a wah-wah pedal to make it, sound more of like a guitar. And even in his solo, he's using the wah-wah pedal to get the effects and stuff that's going on. When Cliff passed away years later, or maybe I don't know how many years later or whatever, but in his honor, James Hetfield got a tattoo with the bass notes for Cliff's solo on this song, and has it on his left arm, which is a high tribute. I mean, that's a really cool thing that he did. Last song on the album is Damage Inc. or Damage Incorporated, and this basically is a song about just nonsenseless violence. It's just four dudes going out there and just destroying stuff, and what you would expect from a thrash metal band, just some aggression just going out there. And this song is actually a really good song to finish the album because it leaves you pumped. And it's at the very beginning of it, you'll hear the bass playing something. Cliff is actually playing Bach, the J.S. Bach, I believe. I think it's Bach's first name was John Sebastian Bach. Anyways, he's playing a song by him, but he's doing it in reverse, which is pretty cool. And it's Come Sweet Death is actually what he's playing. That's the album. Just a few side notes on it. Like we mentioned, Cliff Burton, this would be the last album he would be on. He passed away September 27th, 1986. The band was touring this album in Europe, doing festivals and stuff. And they hit, I guess, a patch of ice or something like that. And he was, it was late at night, and he was thrown from the bus and instantly killed. And it was sad because, I mean, he was just a really great bass player, and still to this day, he always ranks in the top 10 when they do their polls and stuff of top 10 metal bass players. He's always in the top 10. Sadly missed. Rest in peace, Cliff. This album has gotten a lot of accolades through the years for Metallica. It's always voted, like I said earlier, in top 25 type of stuff. And it was also the first platinum thrash metal band album. During this same time period of, like, say, 85, 86, 87, there was 4 bands that actually came out to be like the top 4 thrash or speed metal bands, and they were called the Big Four, and that was Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, and Slayer. And in 2011, those 4 bands actually did some shows together, which was really cool to see all 4 of them on stage together during the encore playing. So if you're a lover of thrash and speed metal, then you were loving life at that point in time. That does it for this particular episode of Out You're On My Hair. We'll be back again next week. We'll probably go back and check out another hair metal band album. I've got a couple requests that have come in. If you have a request, hit me up on Twitter, and that's Helms Randy, and that's HELMSRANDY. Do my best to try to hit it up. I got a few ideas that we want to take this show to another direction closer to the end of the year. We're looking at a couple different things to make it bigger and better, and we'll see what happens. All right, but stay tuned, and as always, keep rocking on, Bella. Sweet rocking on.
The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.